A lot of people can trust God as long as His will looks roughly like their plan. The problem starts when obedience leads somewhere harder, slower, stranger, or more painful than expected. That is where many people quietly begin to question whether God is really leading at all. Paul forces that question into the open. He wanted to go to Rome, that much is clear. But when he finally got there, he did not arrive as a celebrated preacher stepping into an open door. He arrived under guard, watched, restricted, chained to a soldier, same city, very different path. And that matters because it destroys a childish version of guidance that too many Christians still carry. A lot of people think if something is from God, it should unfold cleanly. Doors open, timing works, the path makes sense. But Paul's story does not fit that. He had burden, he had the calling, he had direction, and he still got arrested, delayed, confined, and sent to Rome in a way no one would have chosen. So the real question is not just whether God leads. The harder question is whether we still trust Him when His leading feels like loss. That is where this gets serious. Because some of the most painful moments in life are not moments of rebellion. They are moments of obedience that do not feel rewarded the way we expected. You moved, but not into freedom. You obeyed, but not into ease. You followed, but not into control. And that is exactly why Paul matters here. His story does not let us reduce God's will to comfort. And yet something happened in Rome that Paul could not have scripted. His chains became public. His case became visible. His imprisonment became a platform. He later says, in essence, that what happened to him actually served to advance the gospel. Think about how strong that is, not despite the setback, after everything returned to normal, through the setback, inside the delay, in the middle of the restriction. And that is where most people stop too early. They see the chain and miss the reach. They see the prison and miss the platform. They see the delay and assume the purpose died there. But God is not that small. Paul's confinement gave courage to others. It pushed believers to speak more boldly. It made Christ known in places Paul could not have entered the normal way. That does not make suffering easy. It does not mean every painful turn is automatically clear. But it does expose something important. God can build impact through roads we would have rejected immediately. And that raises a sharper issue. Maybe your biggest crisis is not pain itself. Maybe it is disappointment with the forms God's faithfulness takes. Because most people want God to be faithful in a recognizable shape. We want the answer to look like the answer. We want the blessing to arrive with peace, speed, and clean logic. But Paul reached Rome in a form no one would have called ideal. And still, God had not lost control. That is a word some people need badly. You may be living in a season that feels like a contradiction. You did not plan this version of the path. You would not have chosen this delay. You do not like the confinement, the waiting, the damage, the limitation, the silence. But the fact that a road feels unwanted does not mean it is God-forsaken. That does not mean everything painful is good. It means God is still God when the route is not what you asked for. And this is where the gospel matters again. Christianity is not built on the idea that God only works through obvious success. It is built on a crucified Christ, a rejected Messiah, a victory that looked like defeat before it was recognized as triumph. So why are we shocked when God still works through forms we would never call ideal? If this kind of Bible clarity helps you return to the text instead of just consuming content, subscribe. That is what this channel is for. Maybe the plan in your head has already collapsed. Maybe the timeline you wanted is gone. Then do not reduce God's faithfulness to your preferred shape. Paul got to Rome, not how he planned, but still under the hand of God. And sometimes that is the deeper lesson. God's purpose can remain intact even when your version of the path is gone. And once you realize that, the next question gets even more personal. If God's hand is still on you when your life feels off script, then what does it really mean to be called by God in the first place? That is the next video.